From a Back Window by Bret Harte. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. From a Back Window by Bret Harte. I remember that long ago, as a sanguine and trustful child, I became possessed of a highly colored lithograph, representing a fair Circassian sitting by a window. The price I paid for this work of art may have been extravagant, even in youth's fluctuating slate-pencil currency. But the secret joy I felt in its possession knew no pecuniary equivalent. It was not alone that nature in Circassia lavished alike upon the cheek of beauty and the vegetable kingdom that most expensive of colors, lake, nor was it that the rose which bloomed beside the fair Circassia's window had no visible stem, and was directly grafted upon a marble balcony, but it was because it embodied an idea. That idea was a hinting of my fate. I felt that somewhere a young and fair Circassian was sitting by a window looking out for me. The idea of resisting such an array of charms and color never occurred to me, and to my honor be it recorded that during the feverish period of adolescence I never thought of averting my destiny. But as vacation and holiday came and went, and as my picture at first grew blurred, and then faded quite away between the eastern and western continents in my atlas, so its charm seemed mysteriously to pass away. When I became convinced that few females of Circassian or other origin sat pensively, resting their chins on their henna-tinged nails, at their parlor windows, I turned my attention to back windows. Although the fair Circassian has not yet burst upon me with open shutters, some peculiarities not unworthy of note have fallen under my observation. This knowledge has not been gained without sacrifice. I have made myself familiar with back windows and their prospects, in the weak disguise of seeking lodgings, heedless of the suspicious glances of landladies and their evident reluctance to show them. I have caught cold by long exposure to draughts. I have become estranged from friends by unconsciously walking to their back windows during a visit, when the weekly linen hung upon the line, or where Miss Fanny, ostensibly indisposed, actually assisted in the laundry, and Master Bobby, in scant attire, disported himself on the area railings. But I have thought of Galileo, and the invariable experience of all seekers and discoverers of truth has sustained me. Show me the back windows of a man's dwelling, and I will tell you his character. The rear of a house only is sincere. The attitude of deception kept up at the front windows leaves the back area defenseless. The world enters at the front door, but nature comes out at the back passage. That glossy, well-brushed individual who lets himself in with the latch-key at the front door at night is a very different being from the slipshod wretch who growls of mornings for hot water at the door of the kitchen. The same with Madame, whose contour of figure grows angular, whose face grows pallid, whose hair comes down, and who looks some 10 years older through the sincere medium of a back window. No wonder that intimate friends fail to recognize each other in this dos-a-dos position. You may imagine yourself familiar with the silver door-plate and bow windows of the mansion where dwells your Saccharissa. You may even fancy you recognize her graceful figure between the lace curtains of the upper chamber, which you fondly imagine to be hers. But you shall dwell for months in the rear of her dwelling, and within whispering distance of her bower, and never know it. You shall see her with a handkerchief tied round her head in confidential discussion with the butcher, and know her not. You shall hear her voice in shrill expostulation with her younger brother, and it shall awaken no familiar response. I am writing at the back window, as I prefer the warmth of my coal fire to the foggy freshness of the afternoon breeze that rattles the leafless shrubs in the garden below me. I have my window sash closed. Consequently, I miss much of the shrill altercation that has been going on in the kitchen of number 7 just opposite. I have heard fragments of an entertaining style of dialogue, usually known as chaffing, which has just taken place between Biddy and number 9 and the butcher who brings the dinner. I have been pitying the chilled aspect of a poor canary put out to taste the fresh air from the window of number 5. I have been watching and envying, I fear, the real enjoyment of 2 children raking over an old dust-heap in the alley, containing the wastes and debris of all the backyards in the neighborhood. What a wealth of soda-water bottles and old iron they have acquired! But I am waiting for an even more familiar prospect from my back window. I know that later in the afternoon, when the evening paper comes, a thick-set, gray-haired man will appear in his shirt-sleeves at the back door of number 9, and seating himself on the doorstep, begin to read. He lives in a pretentious house, and I hear he is a rich man. But there is such humility in his attitude, and such evidence of gratitude at being allowed to sit outside of his own house and read his paper in his shirt-sleeves, that I can picture his domestic history pretty clearly. Perhaps he is following some old habit of humbler days. Perhaps he has entered into an agreement with his wife not to indulge his disgraceful habit indoors. He does not look like a man who could be coaxed into a dressing-gown. In front of his own palatial residence I know him to be a quiet and respectable middle-aged business-man. But it is from my back window that my heart warms towards him in his shirt-sleeve simplicity. So I sit and watch him in the twilight as he reads gravely, and wonder sometimes, when he looks up, squares his chest, and folds his paper thoughtfully over his knee, whether he doesn't fancy he hears the letting down of bars, or the tinkling of bells, as the cows come home and stand lowing for him at the gate. End of From a Back Window by Bret Harte. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Davis Drake.